Hello, listeners, and welcome to Boomerang. This week it is Team 4 bringing you the news taken with permission from the West Lothian Courier, published on Thursday, the 19th of September 2024. And our readers today are Jackie, Alison, Kate, and Joyce. Harry is our recorder and copier, and Joan and Margaret will be along later to organise the distribution of the wallets. As usual, there will be 4 parts. Part 1 will be general news. Part 2 will include family announcements. Part 3 will include the quiz. And in Part 4, there will be some sports news as well as the answers to the quiz. When I introduced our August recording, I mentioned the wet weather we were experiencing then, and I hoped that it would improve for Party at the Palace. Well, it certainly did. It was such a sunny weekend, just like the lovely weather which has been here for the past 3 days, an Indian summer. Can I remind you that when you have finished listening to the recording, put the memory stick back into the blue wallet, turn the address label over, and post it back to us here in Whitburn from a post box. Please do not send it from a post office. Well, let's get started with the lead story this week, and Kate.
I was gaslighted by NHS and lost 22 years of living. Patricia reveals horror of mesh implant. A West Lothian gran has told how her mesh implant completely destroyed her life for 22 years and has accused the UK Government Health Service of gaslighting women after she finally had it removed. Patricia Conlon started to experience symptoms including chronic pain and bleeding after receiving a vaginal mesh implant to treat her incontinence in 2002. Ever since then, these symptoms became progressively worse to the point where Patricia, 63, was forced to start using a wheelchair and quit her job. The former lecturer at Stowe College Trade Union Education Department underwent surgery to have her implant removed on June the 7th, 2024, and discovered the plastic mesh had damaged her vaginal wall and had punctured her bladder, which she said now looks like a tea bag. Patricia said over the past 2 decades, doctors repeatedly denied her health problems were caused by the implant, but that since it had been removed, some of her symptoms have started to improve. The Gran has now launched a petition on change.org demanding the government launch a national public inquiry into the NHS mesh implant scandal. It's just destroyed my life completely. I've lost 22 years of living, and there are so many more women out there who need help, Patricia said. The health service has just gaslighted us, and it's been an absolute slog to get anything done about this. It's a scandal. It's dreadful because it's on such a huge scale. This is being used all over the world. It's an absolute disgrace. In 2002, Patricia visited the Glasgow Victorian Infirmary, now the New Victoria Hospital, after suffering from incontinence. She was told it was caused by a prolapse, but that it was an easy fix, a 20-minute operation. After a year, she started developing symptoms including chronic pain, vaginal bleeding and fatigue, which got progressively worse. When she returned to the infirmary, Patricia said medics reassured her that the symptoms were not caused by the implant. Despite being prescribed strong painkillers, Patricia's symptoms persisted to the point where she struggled to walk and lift heavy objects. At this point, she was not aware that other women who had received a mesh implant were experiencing a similar health issue. But one day in 2017, her daughter Rosie spotted a support group on Facebook called Scottish Mesh Survivors, and Patricia realised she was not alone. However, again, she said doctors were adamant the mesh was not to blame, and her health continued to deteriorate over the next few years until even walking became too painful. When I was at my worst, I ended up using a wheelchair because I couldn't walk more than a few steps without being in terrible pain, she said. Sometimes I would be bedridden and I was literally housebound for months. I've had to rely on other people to look after me, and I haven't been able to play with my grandchildren, so I feel like I've missed out on all that as well. I basically haven't had any quality of life for the past 22 years, really. Patricia said getting an appointment at the complex took years due to cancellations, and it was only in 2023 that she was referred to have her mesh taken out. On June the 7th, 2024, Patricia visited the Spire Bristol Hospital to have it surgically removed. Since the operation, Patricia said some of her symptoms have improved, but that it will take a while for the pain to stop. It is estimated that over 20 years, more than 100,000 women across the UK, including more than 20 in Scotland, had transvaginal mesh implants, according to figures reported in the Scottish Parliament. The use of mesh in Scotland was suspended in all but exceptional circumstances in 2014 after it emerged some women had suffered painful side effects, and halted in the NHS Scotland in 2018. In 2020, the Scottish Government set up a £1 million fund offering women who have suffered complications following vaginal mesh surgery a one-off payment of £1,000, which Patricia has received. I don't know how you divide that up over the 22 years, Patricia added. In 2022, the government passed the Transvaginal Mesh Removal Bill, establishing a scheme to reimburse women who pay to have their mesh removed privately. A Scottish Government spokesman said, "We are sorry to hear of Ms Conlon's experience. However, we cannot comment on the details of any individual case. Where someone is happy with aspects of care they have received or are left with concerns, we encourage them to provide feedback directly to the health board concerned." And there's a picture of Patricia seeing she was hitting out at the I think she was hitting out at just the whole injustice of the system.
Affordable Danish Homewares store is all set to open new shop at the centre. Affordable Danish homewares and lifestyle brand Sastren Gren has announced a new store at the centre, Livingston. The Danish brand is renowned for its Scandi-inspired designs and budget-friendly prices. With an autumn opening date set to be announced very soon, Livingston will add to existing locations in Glasgow, Aberdeen and Dundee. The store will feature weekly product drops and seasonal collections, all with high-quality Scandi designs and prices. Shoppers can expect Scandinavian designs in a wide range of homewares, furniture, kitchen products, gifting, wrapping paper, crafts, toys, accessories, and mini-home products for children. Inspired by the Danish concept of hygge, and I think that's how it's pronounced, I'll spell the word Hygge, Sastren Gren aims to bring a sense of comfort and relaxation to shoppers through its unique in-store experience. The new store will showcase the brand's iconic subdued lightings, relaxing classical music, creative product displays, and signature labyrinth-style layout, which invites customers to explore at a leisurely pace. Mikael Gren, CEO and co-owner of Sastren Gren, said, "Shoppers are sure to be impressed," adding, "At Sastren Gren, we take pride in offering a wide array of items that embody our signature Scandi style. We can't wait to introduce this concept to Livingston."
Team Clean sweeps in to claim third spot. Schools, businesses and local volunteers all played their part as West Lothian was ranked third in Scotland for participation in the Keep Scotland Beautiful annual Spring Clean campaign. Thousands of volunteers gave up their time to support efforts to keep West Lothian clean and tidy throughout the year, and this was definitely evident during the spring clean. In West Lothian alone, there were 285 events registered that saw 2,323 volunteers take part, including the involvement of 36 schools and 19 local businesses during the spring clean. Bankton Primary School was one of the schools who took part in the spring clean, with pupils playing an active role in keeping their community clean all year round. Staff from the Council's Cleaner Communities team recently visited the school to thank pupils for their hard work and demonstrated how to use some of the machinery they deploy in their daily work to tackle litter across West Lothian. Executive Councillor for the Environment, Tom Conn, joined the group on the day and thanked pupils and staff at Bankton and other participants for their efforts. Councillor Conn said, "Thank you to everyone who puts in time to keep our communities clean from litter. It was heartening to see so many people take part in the spring clean this year in West Lothian, demonstrating there is an ever-growing understanding that littering blights our landscape and impacts all of us." This was evident meeting the pupils at Bankton, who have done a great job in the past year conducting litter picks in their local community. The challenge of tackling littering is not limited to the spring clean, with West Lothian Council keen to ensure that the anti-littering message is spread all year round. From September 2023 to August 2024, West Lothian Council uplifted bagged waste following community litter clean-ups weighing approximately 541 tonnes. In addition to carrying out regular street cleansing operations on a daily basis, the Cleaner Communities team also look to support local volunteers who carry out regular community clean-ups, providing necessary equipment and disposing of the material collected, while also signposting these groups towards funding opportunities. West Lothian Litter Pickers is the largest volunteer group in the area, with over 4,000 registered volunteers who organise group litter picks on a regular basis via their Facebook group. Councillor Conn added, "We all want West Lothian's streets, towns and villages to be clean and tidy, and we all need to work together to achieve this." West Lothian is very fortunate to have a large network of volunteers committed to tackling littering, and groups such as West Lothian Litter Pickers must be thanked for their tireless efforts across the area. The easiest way that you can help is to always put your litter in a bin. There are 2,000 litter bins across West Lothian, but we can't have bins on every street, so if you don't see one nearby, please take your litter with you and dispose of it appropriately at home. Keep Scotland Beautiful have developed a national online community litter hub full of information and resources from across all of Scotland to support you to tackle litter and littering behaviour in your community. The website is keepscotlandbeautiful, all one word, .org/community-litter-hub. For more information on the local Don't Waste West Lothian campaign, please visit westlothian.gov.uk/Don't Waste. And the article is accompanied by a photograph of the children of Bankton Primary School. They're all wearing high-vis vests, which look as if they're made out of bin bags. They're all bright yellow. And they say, "I'm supporting cleaning up." And they're in front of the group is a sign that says, "West Lothian sweeps up third spot in spring clean." And behind them are some workers with one of these big machines that sucks up waste from the streets. And they're also accompanied by, I assume, their teacher and also Councillor Tom Conn.
Village Anger Over No Lights for Black Spot by Stuart Somerville. Villagers at a West Lothian accident black spot have been told they will not get the traffic lights or flashing signs they want to warn speeding drivers of a dangerous humpback bridge. Roads engineers confirmed that repairs to accident barriers after a series of recent crashes were underway, but stressed that no amount of engineering could stop reckless or dangerous drivers speeding towards the humpback bridge at 90-degree bend at Harburn. Villagers had also wanted the 30 miles per hour zone extended throughout the village, but roads engineers said that this wouldn't be done because it would be impossible for police to enforce. Roads Network manager Gordon Brown told a meeting of the Falthouse and Breich Valley local area community that he could not look at adding coloured roads 30 miles per hour markings in addition to putting extra warning countdown signs on both sides of the bridge before the 30 miles per hour zone starts. High visibility warning signs will also be considered alongside new protection barriers and enhanced chevron signs to replace those taken out in the spate of collisions earlier this year. They are being installed this week. Alan McLaughlin from the Community Council asked why a double-strand barrier could not be put into place on the southern side of the bridge and also called for barriers on the northern side. He told the meeting, "What we have is a very dangerous situation and we have been most fortunate there's been no fatalities. But it's escalating." Mr. Brown replied, "When we are looking at accidents, we have got to adhere to certain design standards." He added that barriers were adequate for a 30 mile per hour area on a rural road. It was designed to keep a car on the carriageway rather than prevent people from driving recklessly. Mr. Brown said, "Some of the incidents that are being reported to us by the public, there's no engineering solutions that we could put in to prevent these type of accidents happening." We have one report where a member of the public was evading the police. There was another, possibly a medical incident. These types of incident, there's no engineering measures which would prevent these in the future, which is unfortunate, but it's a fact. The measures we're proposing will address issues of speeding or taking the bend too fast, providing people drive with due care and attention, and consideration for the environment. These measures we are proposing will help to reduce casualties. Mr. McLaughlin raised concerns that so few accidents had apparently been recorded by the council. Mr. Brown said engineers had to rely on specifically vetted data records at the incidents by police officers. He said, "We do not take into consideration near misses, close calls, or members of the public reporting because we have to go on justified measures." Villagers have had to tackle around about a dozen incidents in Harburn this year, as many drivers unfamiliar with the blind bend and narrow railway bridge came to grief in accidents ploughing off the road. And this piece is accompanied by a car which is veered off the road and is actually sitting at about a 45-degree angle. And there's one sign at it saying children and adults walking. There's also an RAC van obviously in attendance to the car that has now been off-road.
Battery storage site plan sparks fears over fire danger at proposed Bathgate plant. And this article is by Stuart Somerville. Concerns have been raised over plans to build a battery energy storage site on the fringe of Bathgate. A response to a Holyrood consultation on the plan had been delayed after West Lothian councillor Danny Logue expressed his fears about possible fire risks. A motion presented by the council leader highlighted the dangers of battery plant fires and called on the Scottish Government to take note of the historic risks at such plants. Planners recommended concerns could be handled by planning conditions. Last month, Councillor Logue highlighted the severity of fires at storage plants around the world, including Australia and the US, where firefighters had fought for days to control fires. At this month's meeting, he again raised his fears about the planned site next to the Boghead roundabout. "I'm concerned about the distance," he's told fellow councillors. "There's been a number of serious incidents around the world. I have reservations because the distance from residential areas is not great enough." And the SNP councillor, Carol John, asked a planning officer if he thought the fire service would be able to tackle a disaster at such a site. Councillor Fitzpatrick, who had tabled the motion, said it was not for the council planning department to speak for the fire service. Planning officer Tony Irving told the meeting that the Scottish Government was consulting Scottish Fire and Rescue as part of the wider consultation. Councillor Fitzpatrick reminded the meeting that the council was being asked for its views as a consultee and not as the planning authority making a decision on the development. Other worries raised about the proposed site centred on pollution and the disposal and decommissioning of batteries. The council could object to the plans set to be lodged under the 1989 Electricity Act, but that would force a government public inquiry with a potential financial liability for the council if it lost. The plan proposes the installation of a battery energy storage system and associated infrastructure with a generating capacity of up to 200 MW on land at Pond Industrial Estate, Whitburn Road, Bathgate. The proposed development consists of the siting of 74 containerised battery storage units and ancillary equipment, a substation building and a high-voltage compound, together with a Scottish Power transmission compound area, storage containers, a SUDS basin, and concrete perimeter walls measuring 11 feet, and a 16-feet wall height on the southern and eastern sides of the application site, respectively, will be erected, which will act as acoustic barriers.
Welcome to part 2, and we will start with the family announcements, which this week are all death notices. Black, Robert, from Edinburgh. Peacefully, on Wednesday, September the 4th, 2024, in the Western General Hospital. Robert, much-loved husband of the late Martha, loving father to Sandra and Kenneth, grandfather to Ailsa, Heather and Fraser, and father-in-law to Andy. Funeral service will be held at Warriston Crematorium, Lorimer Chapel, on Wednesday, October the 9th, 2024, at 11 a.m, to which all are welcome. Donations, if desired, to Alzheimer's Society. Gowans, Walter, from Armadale. Peacefully at Broxburn Nursing Home on Wednesday, the 11th of September 2024, Walter, aged 88 years, beloved husband of the late Mary Gowans, much-loved dad, granddad and great-granddad. Lamond, Grace, nee Laurie, from Broxburn. Peacefully at Middleton Hall Care Home on Saturday the 7th of September 2024, Grace, beloved wife of the late Robert, loving mum to Alan and Colin, and a dearly loved gran to Taylor and Kaylee. A funeral service will be held at West Lothian Crematorium on Thursday, 26th September at 2 p.m. Family flowers only, please. Love, Mary, nee Dunn. Peacefully on Sunday, 15th September 2024 at Woodlands Nursing Home. May, beloved wife of Bill Love, cherished sister-in-law to Merle and Iris. A funeral service will take place at West Lothian Crematorium on Thursday the 26th of September 2024 at 11 a.m. Family flowers only, please. Noble, Alan, from Armadale. After a long illness at Western General Hospital, Edinburgh, on Friday, 6th September 2024, Alan, aged 72 years, beloved husband of Marion, much loved stepdad, and sadly missed by all. And that announcement brings us to the end of the family announcements for this week, so we will continue with general news and Alison.
National Care Plan Under Fire by Stuart Somerville. Proposals to set up a national care service in Scotland have been criticised by West Lothian councillors. One of Scotland's largest local council unions, the GMB, this week withdrew its support for the plans. And a meeting of West Lothian's executive heard claims that it will potentially cost an extra £1.5 billion to establish a centralised service managed by Holyrood ministers. Linlithgow Lib Dem councillor Sally Pattle said, "Show us the money and we can deal with it ourselves." And council leader, Councillor Lawrence Fitzpatrick, branded the plan as a frightening massive centralisation. The Labour group leader added, "What we need was a clear set of criteria for qualifications needed for certain types of work in social policy and social care, a salary structure to support it, and finally a clear inspection arrangement for both public and private sector, full stop. What we are talking about is an extra spend of £1.5 billion setting up offices. There are 150 civil servants continuing to work on it." The GMB union has claimed the National Care Service Bill, which is facing a number of substantial amendments at Stage 2, will not compel care providers to fairly pay staff, leading to 79% of members backing plans to withdraw support. Ministers agreed earlier this year to relinquish some control over the final system, instead sharing responsibility with local government. Local representation would still be controlled by ministerial influence. This month, the council executive in Livingston approved what were described as diplomatic responses to the latest Scottish Government consultation on the plans. Council officers suggested the response highlights that there's no clear evidence base that indicates that the proposed major structural change will result in the improvement required. It added, the draft response notes that structural change imposed without additional resources is unlikely to result in any change in the level and quality of services offered to people across Scotland. Councillor Pattle criticised the suggestion that new local boards be created when the existing local integration boards were only created in 2015. The new boards would, she said, potentially remove any local accountability. Councillor Pattle said, "The icing on the cake for me was, and I quote, there remain a small number of areas needing further work, including direct funding. I think we can all agree that is code for removing local participation and council and health boards having any ability to make decisions." She added, "There's no evidence that a national care service will deliver the reform that we can all agree is needed. What we actually need is plain long-term investment. We just need the Scottish Government to show us the money at a local government and local health board level, and we can deal with this ourselves." Labour's Danny Logue said millions of pounds were being wasted trying to reinvent the wheel. And Linlithgow's Tom Conn called on the Scottish Government to lock these plans in a cupboard and quietly walk away. SNP Deputy Leader Pauline Stafford raised an amendment suggesting softening the tone of the responses and rejection of an outright blanket ban on suggestions that children's services and justice social work come into a new national care service remit. Councillor Stafford reminded Labour councillors that nationally the party had supported a national care service. Her SNP colleague from Bathgate, Willie Boyle, castigated Labour councillors for their negativity at the NCS plan. "We need to move things forward. We are being asked to look at how we address a situation that will affect a lot of our constituents. Let's try and move on positively." A Labour motion approving the council responses to the consultation was backed by councillors. In January this year, West Lothian's Integrated Joint Board, which oversees health and social care, heard that a new national care service had already cost £2.2 billion in development and would be delayed by another 3 years. And the story is accompanied by a photograph. It's a photograph of a lot of people standing outside the council civic centre. They're holding placards and they have flags. And the people are holding up placards that say, "Save our jobs," and there's union placards for West Lothian branch of Unison.
MPs lend support to pension campaigners. Poynton and Sullivan take part in drop-in session by Debbie Hall. West Lothian MPs recently met with 1950s women pensions campaigner at Westminster. The campaigners in West Lothian were delighted to see that their MPs Gregor Poynton and Christine Sullivan taking part in a WASPy drop-in information session for new MPs held in Westminster on September the 11th. The Parliamentary and Health Service Ombudsman published his final report into changes to women's state pension. It announced that the Department for Work and Pensions was guilty of maladministration because it failed to provide proper information to 1950s women about delays to their state pension age, that the women involved suffered injustice as a result and they should be receiving compensation. Carla O'Hara, coordinator of WASPy West Lothian, Women Against State Pension Injustice, WASPy, said it was great to see our local MPs among the 150 plus who attended the session. They are fully supportive of the thousands of local 1950s women and recognise the injustice we face. I am sure they will do all they can in Parliament to see that we get compensation we are owed as recommended by the Ombudsman. Hilary Simpson, WASPy National Chair, added, "The drop-in session was a resounding success with a record number of MPs attending. We were delighted to be able to speak to them individually, answer their questions and make sure they are fully aware of the need for progress to be made on compensation as quickly as possible following the publication of the Ombudsman's report almost 6 months ago." Christine Sullivan MP said, "I have been a long-standing supporter of the West Lothian WASPy campaign, so I was delighted to meet the women from the national campaign in Parliament last week. The women have waited years for a resolution to this issue, so I have written to the Secretary of State for Work and Pensions to ask when a timetable will be available for this matter to come back to Parliament for decisions to be made, and if this can be done as soon as practically possible." Greg Poynton said, "It was great to meet the WASPy campaign members at the drop-in last week. I've been working closely with WASPy campaigners in Livingston constituency and have recently written to the Secretary of State for Work Pensions on their behalf, seeking updates. WASPy representatives recently met the Pensions Minister Emma Reynolds to discuss their case. And this is actually accompanied by 2 pictures of the MPs both holding placards saying, "I will work with WASPy to identify and deliver a fair solution for all women affected."
Community Centre dogged by delays, and this article by Stuart Somerville. Concerns have been raised over the state of a popular West Lothian community centre after images showed damage caused by winter weather. The Lanthorn in Livingston was scheduled to reopen at the start of this year, but the building was left roofless over the winter. It was the first council building to have crumbling RAAC rack roof planks discovered in the spring of 2021. Others, including community halls and schools, followed soon after. Many of the buildings in Livingston, Bathgate and elsewhere have since been successfully repaired. The Lanthorn remains a building site. The reopening has been dogged by delays, and one local councillor said this week that user groups doubt whether the new November deadline will be met. Photographs show extensive damage caused over the winter months. One shows the floor looking like a swimming pool. Another shows mould growing on walls, and another of the interior gutted because of water damage. Despite the damage, councillors have been assured that the community centre will reopen before Christmas. We revealed in June that a firm awarded a £2 million contract in October 2022 was scheduled to have finished the work by January. The firm was given an additional £450,000 to accelerate the works earlier this year before being removed from the project. It is understood that one of the first jobs in the spring was to set up 10 dehumidifiers as well as large space heaters to dry out the building after emergency roof repairs were made. This had to be done before full refurbishment could start. Councillors have called for the final bill on how much it will have cost to bring the Lanthorn back into the heart of the community it has served since 1978. After a meeting of the Livingston South Local Area Committee, Councillor Moira McKee-Schmellet said people feared there is no guarantee that groups would be back in the building for Christmas. Roof planks were removed by a contractor hired to refurbish the building after crumbling concrete RAAC rack roof planks were discovered in 2021. The roofing was removed in the autumn, but the building was not made wind and watertight. A spokesman for the council confirmed that repairs are planned to be complete in November. They added, "Works to replace the roof at the Lanthorn Community Education Centre have been ongoing for some time after significant structural issues were identified. The council has fully funded the project to remove and replace the existing roof deck at the Lanthorn Centre and Chapel Annex. The new contractor has provided a programme of works and estimated timescales for the project, and, based on this, the estimated completion date is late November 2024. The council has confirmed that it is anticipated that the cost of the remaining works will be accommodated within the overall budget available. Updates on progress will continue to be provided throughout the year." Patrick Welsh, the council's head of finance and property services, said, "I'm sure everyone will agree the focus now needs to be on completing the project works and working together over the coming months to get the facility back open. This will allow user groups to move back in as smoothly as possible and allow the wider community to once again use this important community facility." And there is a photograph showing the interior of the Lanthorn, and looking in a sorry state. There's cables lying about. It looks like there's a wet floor. In fact, I think I can see from the ceiling, I think I can see some daylight coming through there. Of course, it might be a window. However, they're saying underneath the heading is, "Lanthorn will reopen despite water damage."
Chief Inspector to get tough on crime as she takes over top cop job, by Debbie Hall. Chief Inspector Elaine MacArthur Kerr says she's delighted to take over as local area commander for West Lothian. She replaces Jocelyn Thompson, who has now been promoted to Partnerships Superintendent within the Lothians and Scottish Borders Division. She said Superintendent Thompson leaves some big shoes to fill and thanked her for all her efforts while in this role. During her tenure, Thomson worked hard to enhance engagement and collaboration with key partners and stakeholders, and C.I. MacArthur Kerr said she intends to build on this and ensure the police continue to work together to make West Lothian a safe place to live, work and visit. She told the Courier, "I've been privileged within my near 30-year policing career to have previously worked within this division as a response inspector within both East Lothian and Mid Lothian, and I'm really excited to add West Lothian to my postings. I started my service in the legacy Strathclyde Police and have worked within a variety of roles, including community policing, major investigation team, and had an external secondment to the Scottish Crime and Drug Enforcement Agency. I may only be just in the door, however, I'm very impressed with the level of professionalism and dedication I've seen from officers and staff working throughout West Lothian, and I look forward to working alongside many of them during my time here." Turning to upcoming events happening across the area, the new CI said, "We're still a few weeks away from Bonfire Night, but our planning for the local policing response over November the 5th is well underway alongside West Lothian Council and the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service to identify hotspot areas in the region and determine the appropriate resources and action required from each agency to best deter fireworks-related criminality occurring. Local policing teams will also be supported again by specially trained resources from around the country as part of Operation Moonbeam. Operation Moonbeam is Police Scotland's public order response to violence, disorder and antisocial behaviour involving fireworks, and the enhanced resources we have at our disposal will be used to protect emergency service workers, including police officers, while they work within communities to keep local residents and businesses safe. We've seen over the last few years some isolated but unacceptable incidents of aggression and hostility directed towards police officers who have been targeted by groups of individuals throwing a variety of missiles, including fireworks." And she continued, "I want to make it clear that such offences will not be tolerated, and anyone found to be responsible for attacks on police, other emergency services or members of the public can expect to be brought to justice. You may not be apprehended on the evening of your offence, but through the investigations we will conduct during and after Bonfire Night, you can expect a visit from us shortly thereafter." The CI added, "I'd like to appeal to our communities to take our Your Police survey, which is available on our website. By doing so and providing your input, you can help to shape the policing priorities for West Lothian."
We have now come to the end of part 2, and in part 3 there will be the quiz to look forward to. Welcome to part 3, and we will begin with the quiz. There will be 10 questions this week, and here they come. Number 1. Which district of Paris is famous for its street artists and the Basilica of Sacré-Cœur? Is it Montparnasse, Montmartre, or Montreuil? Question 2. With which meat is apple sauce usually served? Is it pork, lamb, or beef? Question 3. Which Irish Protestant organisation was formed in 1795? Was it Knights Templar? Was it Freemasons? Or was it Orange Order? Question 4. Who was created Lord Snowdon after marrying Princess Margaret? Was it Anthony Armstrong-Jones, or Philip Mountbatten, or Edward Windsor? Question 5. Which tower in Paris was built for an 1889 exhibition? Was it the Louvre Pyramid, or the Eiffel Tower, or the Arc de Triomphe? Question 6. When is the feast day of St. Valentine? Is it the 1st of May, or the 14th of February, or the 25th of December? Question 7. Which plucked stringed instrument has a body in the shape of a half pear? Is it a lute, or a banjo, or a zither? Question 8. What name is given to acting without words, as practiced by Marcel Marceau? Is it mime, or pantomime, or dance? Question 9. Which King of England was killed at the Battle of Bosworth? Was it William the Conqueror, or Henry VIII, or Richard III? And lastly, question 10. Which woodland area of Hampshire is famous for its ponies? Is it the New Forest, or the Forest of Dean, or Sherwood Forest? Well, those are the questions for this week, and the best of luck with finding and thinking about the answers. The answers will be given to you in part 4, so we'll go on now with more general news in part 3, and Kate.
Unions' fury over pay rise myths by Stuart Somerville. Unions representing West Lothian Council staff have accused senior officials of perpetuating myths around pay amid the growing financial crisis facing local councils. They have written to the Council's Chief Executive in protest at posts which appeared on the Council's social media suggesting pay deals stroke financial problems. The Joint Trade Union said paying a decent working wage is not the cause of the crisis. Jane Ridgway, chair of the Joint Trade Union, said West Lothian trade unions have responded angrily to learning about the Council's financial crisis and proposals to cut more jobs and services via a Council Facebook post. She added, in the letter to the Council's Chief Executive, Unison, GMB and Unite expressed anger that the Council's Facebook post continues to perpetuate the myth that paying public sector workers a decent wage is in part responsible for the financial crisis. Ms Ridgway said, the refusal of a government to properly fund services isn't the fault of the people who deliver them. It is the fault of the Scottish Government, who have starved local government of funds, refusing to raise monies themselves and preventing councils from raising their own revenue. The value of local government pay has fallen by 25% over the last 14 years, and low pay in local government still proliferates. The unions responded to a post on a social media last night which highlighted the growing financial crisis the Council is facing. The Council said, the update from the Council's Head of Finance and Property Services is part of the budget monitoring process and confirms that continuing financial crisis facing councils is of a magnitude never experienced before. The Council statement, which ignited union anger, read, all service areas will be affected and, although the Council has no compulsory redundancy positions, the scale of the budget pressure facing the Council will impact on staff members. Overall, the number of Council staff will reduce over the next 2 years. This latest update confirmed that the Council has a substantial overspend this year, 24 to 25, of over £5.5 million, which means that more savings are now required to allow the Council to balance its budget. Chief Executive Graham Hope said on the post, the only option we have is to reduce some services and transform the way in which some services are provided. And the Head of Finance, Patrick Welsh, added, some of the most significant risks and uncertainties include the impact of inflation, annual constrained grant funding from the Scottish Government, pay awards, cost, policy change by the Government without adequate funding, and growing growing demographic demands. Warnings from Westminster and Holyrood are already painting a grim financial scenario from West Lothian and other local authorities next year. In Livingston, councillors have been forced to agree to more than 10 million of cuts in the last 15 years as services have been whittled to the bone and ring-fence spending imposed by Holyrood has grown. The Westminster budget at the end of October will be followed by the Holyrood budget in mid-December, but it will be the end of January before finance officers have finalised exactly how little room for manoeuvring West Lothian will have in the new financial year. And this has got a picture of striking unions with placards saying, West Lothian Council, honour our 2007 craft agreement now. And I think the banners have got Unite on them.
Schoolboy Alex is best in Scotland. Hurdle champs great season. And this is by Debbie Hall. It's certainly been a memorable summer for sport. No, I'll start again. It's certainly been a memorable summer of sport for Inverarmond Community High School pupil Alex Thompson, as he became a Scottish champion and then successfully represented Scotland at the prestigious UK School Games. In June, the S5 pupil became Scottish Schools 100-metre hurdles champion at the Scottish Schools Championships in Grangemouth. This success saw Alex ranked number 1 in the country and meant he was then selected to represent Scotland at the UK School Games. This was a huge honour for Alex, as only the top-ranked athletes from each of the 4 home nations, plus the next top 4 athletes from across the UK, are invited to participate. The event is described as a mini Olympic Games, with multiple sports taking part over the weekend, and many of the Team GB's Olympic athletes participated in the Games at the start of their careers. This year, the event was held at Loughborough University from Thursday to Saturday, August 29th to 31st, with educational sessions also being put on for all the athletes in addition to the competition. Alex took 6th place in the 100-metre hurdles final in a very competitive field. This follows on from Alex representing Scotland schools in the Schools International Athletic Board, the SIAB, event in Carmarthen, Wales, during the summer holidays, where he ran the 100 and 400-metre hurdles and was part of the sprint relay squad. Inverarmond Community High School acting head teacher Hamish Shankland said, "It's certainly been a very busy summer for Alex, and an outstanding one at that. I hope he realises how great his achievements are and knows that everyone at Inverarmond Community High School is incredibly proud of his success. He works extremely hard, and I'm sure that many more athletic milestones lie ahead for Alex." And this article is accompanied by a photograph of Alex practically mid-air. He looks as though he's flying, obviously over a hurdle, although we don't see the hurdle. And this was taken at Grangemouth Stadium. And he's got his vest on, which is a nice purple colour with white down the front, and a number 490, I think. And Alex is looking really determined as he's jumping over that hurdle. And is a nice looking lad with spectacles and dark hair, and all success to him.
Shoppers bag some style advice by Debbie Hall. The Centre Livingston hosted another fantastic autumn-winter fashion event at the weekend, where shoppers got some brilliant top-trending tips from local stylist Lee Maybury and a mini colour analysis. Plus, 6 lucky shoppers also received a £50 gift card from the style team to treat themselves. The event followed on from the success of Lee's first spring-summer event in May, where visitors travelled from around the country to get an insight into which seasonal shades they should be leaning towards when they're refreshing their wardrobe or adding essential pieces to their existing wardrobe. Lee said, "Thank you to the Centre Livingston for inviting me back again to host another style event. It was lovely to chat to so many shoppers about which styles and colours suit them best and highlighting some of the key trends this season, which include tweed, tartan and also animal prints. The mini colour analysis is always a big hit, as so many of us tend to stick to shades we've been wearing for years. It was nice to be able to encourage people to try different ones this winter, including red, burgundy, green and orange." Lee also hosted a live style talk on dopamine dressing, highlighting which hues tend to give you a natural boost and showcasing various boots and coats to help complete your winter wardrobe. Tips and tricks were also given to help style with confidence, including how to pick everyday outfits that are comfortable and how to create a more coherent wardrobe without the overwhelm. Patrick Robertsi, Centre Director at the Centre Livingston, said, "It was great to welcome Lee back again to help our shoppers choose styles which are trending this season and give them a little bit of confidence to try something new." Shoppers travelled from afar again to find out which colours they should opt for, with some lucky visitors given an extra special surprise on the day when they were picked by our style team to receive a £50 gift card to treat themselves to something nice. Our style team were delighted to catch up with some of the shoppers that stopped by for style and colour tips from Lee, who also shared some of their favourite stores and eateries. And there are quite a few pictures, the photographer being Andrea Thompson. And in the first one, Lee Maybury, the stylist, is standing in front of a rack of clothes. Lee's got long blonde hair and a big smile. She's a very lovely looking person. She's wearing a black Chanel-style jacket with gold buttons. It's dressed casually. It's quite, rumpled. And she's teamed that with a leopard skin skirt, and she does look lovely. There are also pictures of a lady who's wearing, I suppose, a snakeskin style top. She's got a voucher that she's holding. And there's another lady wearing an amber coloured top, which is very pretty. And she's also got a leopard print underneath. It's perhaps a top, but it could be a scarf. And she's with a younger man. He's wearing a dark blue hoodie, and then he's teamed that with a paler blue shirt worn open like a shacket. There are a couple of ladies wearing beautiful check coats, loose, long check coats. One woman has teamed that with a plain white t-shirt and wide-legged trousers with white trainers underneath, and it's all very coordinated. They've also got a picture of Lee holding up the shade cards to do people's colour analysis. So there's different colours there to show what colours go best with a person's skin and hair tones. And there's a variety of shades. It must say it looks rather like a paint card, but it's for your skin and your hair.
Asda customers can give the gift of reading. West Lothian Asda customers are being encouraged to donate their pre-loved books in store. Asda has launched a UK-wide partnership with literacy charity the Children's Book Project, which will enable customers in Scotland to donate pre-loved children's books in store for onward gift to families who have fewer books of their own. This campaign follows successful pilots early in the year in Asda in stores across Birmingham, Bristol, Leeds and London, which saw over 6,000 books donated and redistributed. From September, over 388 Asda stores, including those in Livingston and Armadale, will invite local families to donate any books they've grown out of and to drop them off into a dedicated donation trolley at the front of the stores, hosted by the store's customer and community champion. Together, the two organisations expect to give over 20,000 children the chance to participate in book gifting festival hosted by their school or community group, where they will be able to choose and take home books of their own. Book poverty has a measurable impact on children's social and emotional development, as well as their education outcomes, and the charity's core mission chimes with ASDA Wider's ongoing initiatives to support low-income families. Through this partnerships, more children will have the chance to choose books they are excited about, to share stories with the wider family, and to lose themselves in a story. For more information on how to donate books or how you can benefit, visit www.childrensbookproject.co.uk/ASDA.
Our next article by Stuart Somerville is headed Frustrated Villagers to Fight to Keep Plan for a Paths Network on Right Track. Residents of a West Lothian island village have vowed to continue to push for footpath connections to vital services. Campaigners have fought for more than a decade to establish a footpath network linking Stonyburn to neighbouring communities. The village sits in the heart of West Lothian, less than 2 miles from other small communities, but there's no way to walk safely to it. While villagers have had some success, they are frustratingly just 120 yards shy of completing a footpath to East Whitburn along old mine railway lines. Now campaigners are making a video to show to the council officers featuring some of the issues regular walkers in the area face. Sandy Edgar of Stonyburn Vision Group took walkers to the edge of the hard-standing path along the route of old pit railway lines around Fallshiels Bing. At what would have been a junction of lines, there is now a sea of mud, only walkable after a few weeks of dry weather, of which there's few. You can see Hen's Nest Road in East Whitburn over beyond the trees. It's about 120 yards away, he said. Plans to complete the path have stalled as negotiations with landowners have come to nothing. Councillors at this month's meeting of Fauldhouse and the Breich Valley Local Area Committee heard. Meanwhile, proposals to connect the village with a footpath and cycleway to vital services in Fauldhouse are in the planning stage and may be 2 to 3 years away as land transfers are negotiated. Around £2 million has been agreed from national funders, including Sustrans, to build a path connecting the two communities, and some local landowners are on side, others are not, and negotiations will have to be concluded. The nearest pharmacy and GP facilities to Stonyburn are now in Fauldhouse, some 3 miles away to the west. There's little in the way of shopping facilities and few buses in any direction. The B road connecting the two communities is a narrow, winding rural road densely lined with heavy tree and shrub cover and no pavements. Villagers who walk regularly say they ventured on to the route, which has a 60-mile-per-hour speed limit, in the past during lockdown when it was quieter, but wouldn't do it now. There's too much traffic and it's too overgrown, said one villager, Carol Regan, who regularly uses what footpaths there are around the village for daily exercise. Fellow walker John Mushet said, "You wouldn't want to walk it, not with the 60-mile-per-hour limit in it." Sandy told the Courier, "Young families who want to go out for a cycle, a path would take them off the road. Just now, they have to load their bikes into the car and go off to somewhere like B. Craig's Park to go for a family cycle. People who use mobility scooters or those using wheelchairs cannot get out of the village. They have nowhere to go. What we need is access for all." He added, "There's some locals who don't want it. They don't want the path because they don't want the people. But there's going to be 300 more houses in the village. If we're going to have a lot more people, we're going to need a lot more infrastructure. The path is just one of those things." And this is accompanied by a photograph of Sandy Edgar, who is leaning on a metal fence and is wearing a khaki jacket and is looking proper fed up. And behind him, there's countryside scene and big muddy puddles here and there. And there's bushes and trees. And as I say, Sandy's just looking right fed up about it all.
Okay. We have now come to the end of part 3. And in part 4, we will tell you the answers to the quiz and some sports news will be included. Welcome to part 4, and we will complete our recording today with more news from the Courier, but first of all, the answers to that quiz. Question 1. Which district of Paris is famous for its street artists and the Basilica of Sacré-Cœur? It is Montmartre. Question 2. With which meat is applesauce usually served? That'll be pork. Question 3. Which Irish Protestant organisation was formed in 1795? That was the Orange Order. Question 4. Who was created Lord Snowdon after marrying Princess Margaret? That was Anthony Armstrong Jones. Question 5. The tower in Paris, which was built for the 1889 exhibition, was the Eiffel Tower. St. Valentine's feast day is the 14th of February. Question 7 was, which plucked stringed instrument has a body in the shape of a half pear? That was a lute. Question 8. The name given to acting without words, as practiced by Marcel Marceau, is mime. Which King of England was killed at the Battle of Bosworth? That was Richard III. And last of all, which woodland area of Hampshire is famous for its ponies? That was the New Forest. There we are, nice straightforward questions this week, and I hope you did well. So now we will continue with part 4 and Jackie.
And this is a sports item. Heading, Reds fall to first defeat of season. Linlithgow Rugby Club were brought back to earth as they crashed to a 37-18 defeat against a streetwise Ardrossan Accies side in National League 4. Reds had got off to a great start with a 35-24 win at Hamilton last weekend, but struggled on this occasion to match the physicality of their visitors. Despite playing with a breeze, Ardrossan were restricted to 5 penalty kick attempts in the first half, but slotted all of them, including 2 long-range efforts. Linlithgow made regular forays into the Ardrossan half and were intent on running most balls. But a combination of very big hits and targeting ball in the tackle led to several occasions when it was dislodged from the Reds players, or the final pass didn't go to hand due to pressure applied by the visitors. Reds actually spent much of the first half in the Ardrossan half, but weren't clinical enough with handling and finishing in the face of an aggressive defence, sometimes overly so, resulting in 2 yellow cards for the visitors. Linlithgow did slot 2 of the many penalties they earned, with captain Jack Frame kicking, but they went into the interval with a 15-6 deficit. Any hopes Reds had of eating into this were dissipated as Ardrossan scored 2 convert tries in the first 20 minutes, giving them a commanding 29-6 lead. During the half, Linlithgow lost David Gowdy with a hamstring injury, and he was replaced by Ross Plenderleith, requiring a reshuffle in the back division, with Ross Tulloch moving to full-back and Jack Frame moving to outside centre. Plenderleith immediately made his presence felt by outstripping the Ardrossan winger to collect a good kick ahead by Connor Finlay, but he couldn't capitalise on his chip over the full-back and the chance was lost. The hosts eventually managed a brace of tries. Ross Tulloch barged his way over after good lead-up play by Kieran Cochrane and Ewan Curran. After a cross kick from Finlay, the ball bounced kindly into the hands of centre Curran, who sprinted the remaining 35 metres to score a try in the corner, with Jack Frame adding the touchline conversion, taking the score to 32-18 with only a few minutes remaining. The final score went to the visitors with a forwards try as they drove over the line following a line-out. Linlithgow are left licking their wounds, but are still in 7th place with only 2 games. They will need to learn from this as they travel to Forfar on Saturday to challenge joint leaders Strathmore. And there's various pictures, one with Ross Tulloch, who has scored Linlithgow's first try, and there's a picture of them scrambling about on the grass. There's I take it Linlithgow in the red and the visitors Ardrossan in the blue. And another one with Jack Frame kicking the ball high into the air. And there's lots of people watching the game as well.
For season in route. Nithsdale Wanderers 2, Broxburn Athletic 10, and the story is by Andy McGilvray. 13 is unlucky for some, but not Broxburn Athletic's Errol Flynn, who took his tally to that superstitious figure with a hat-trick in a 10-2 South Challenge Cup win at Nithsdale Wanderers on Saturday. Now, I have to explain at this point that Errol's surname is not really Flynn, but Douglas, which is used throughout the rest of the story, but it is a great nickname. The thumping win over South of Scotland opponents eased Brox into the 3rd round, with Douglas hitting 13 in 12 games so far this season, delighting assistant boss Derek McWilliams. Owen Wardle, a loan signing from Bonnyrigg Rose until January, bagged a double on his debut. He said Errol is doing fantastic, especially when he got another hat-trick, but it was good to see others getting on the score sheet. It's good to see the goals getting spread about, but to get 13 goals at this stage of the season is just a great effort from Errol. Broxburn were 5-1 up at the interval, with Douglas opening the scoring after just 5 minutes, only to see Nithsdale level through Sean Mackenzie. Gary Brass, Wardle, Douglas and Scott McCrory-Irving got them to a 5-1 at the break. Second half strikes from Douglas, who completed his hat-trick in 55 minutes. Wardle, Brass and a Godwin Kanye Supke double completed the rout. Nithsdale were reduced to 10 men with 2 minutes left, and Mackenzie got his second of the game for the hosts at 9-1. McWilliams added, "We scored after just a few minutes, but it was disappointing to let them back into it. But after we got the second and third goals, there was only going to be one outcome, and it was great to get into double figures and get into the next round quite professionally. It's important in these cup ties because sometimes you can fall flat in your face, but we told the boys to be professional, we certainly did that, and to get double figures is fantastic. We never let up, and I hope we can take that confidence into another cup tie in the next few weeks when we play in the Scottish Cup. We've got big league matches to come, and it was good to see players coming back and getting minutes on the pitch." Broxburn host Cowdenbeath at Alban Park on Saturday on Lowland League duty, and McWilliams said it's another home game, so it's vitally important. In the last couple of games, Bowness and Stirling Uni, we were unfortunate we only got a point and nothing out of the Stirling game. We need to get back winning and hopefully we can take the confidence from Saturday. And there's a few photographs with this, and one of them is a picture of Douglas kicking into the goal, and the Broxburn team are wearing black and yellow strips, with the Nithsdale Wanderers wearing royal blue stripy tops and stripy socks as well. And there's definitely some action going on here, which is clear from the result, which was fabulous.
Lions will find a way when down. Nottingham hails second half blitz that sunk Hamilton by Andy McGilvery. Michael Nottingham said a half-time team talk inspired Livingston to beat Hamilton Accies 3-0 because even when not playing well, they were still the better side. Former Blackpool and Accrington Stanley defender Nottingham says Livy were unhappy at going in 0-0 with John Rankin's side at the interval, but quickly realised that Accies hadn't laid a glove on them. The Lions emerged revitalised in the second half, and Scott Pittman had them ahead with a rocket shot inside 11 minutes, with Robbie Muirhead climbing off the bench to net twice in the last 10 minutes to seal the win. Nottingham said it was a slow performance in the first half. It came together in the second half with 3 wonderful goals, and I'm very happy. We went in a little bit down because we hadn't played how we wanted to play, but we came to realisation that they hadn't really had a shot on goal or threatened us, and we had the better chances. We just needed to up the levels in the game, knew the chances would come, and once we got the first goal, I felt like we were in full control. Muirhead bagged his first 2 goals for the club since moving from Morton in the summer, and Birmingham-born Nottingham says him coming off the bench to score proves they're all in it together. He said, it's important that everyone is together and we're all on the same page. Everyone's just as important as each other. It's a squad game. It's not about the 11 that's out there, it's about the full squad. Everyone that has come on has always put a shift in and done a brilliant job. The win kept Livingston third in the Championship as they remain unbeaten after 5 games, but their idols this weekend are Saturday's opponents Falkirk and Celtic in the Premier Sports Cup quarter-final on Sunday. Nottingham said, I'm very happy with the win. It's exactly what we wanted. We have no game at the weekend, so the message was important to get points on the board before next week. Meanwhile, goalkeeper Jerome Pryor said he had to be patient at Livingston before being given his chance, but it's loving life in the Scottish Championship. Shamal George started at first choice at the West Lothian club, and he was prized away by Widcombe Wanderers in the deadline-beating move last month. Former Bordeaux and Valencia's shot-stopper Pryor arrived in May from Greek side PAS Giannini and was left cooling his heels until making his debut in a 1-0 win over Wraith Rovers on August the 31st. But 3 games later, following a comfortable 3-0 win at home to Hamilton Accies, the Frenchman is yet to concede a goal. Pryor, 29, said, I came for this. I was just waiting for Shamal to leave. He has done, and now I am playing, so I'm happy. It was not an easy game on Saturday, but it was a good win for the team. I'm happy with the clean sheet, the victory, and we want more of both. Pryor is settled in Scotland, and for now at least, life is good. He said, my life in Scotland is good. I love to be here with my family, and it's good for the moment. I have my wife and 2 kids, and they are happy to with me here. I'm happy I played for France, Spain and Greece, and now in Scotland. For me, it's a new experience. I love this country and the people here. And this is accompanied by a large picture of Nottingham, and he's wearing his orange top for Livy self-storage, and his hands are raised in victory, showing a winning smile.
Next article is headed Rose Go for 5 in a row. Linlithgow Rose boss Gordon Herd is looking for a top-tier performance from his side against civil service strollers as they bid for 5 Lowland League wins in a row. Herd reckons his fourth-placed outfit should have more points on the board than they do, but has been pleased with how his side have responded to setbacks with wins over Albion Rovers, Cowdenbeath, East Stirling and Broomhill in the lead-up to Saturday's clash at Christy Gillies Park in Edinburgh. Having a break at the weekend while South Challenge Cup games were being played out has also helped, and Herd hopes the Gallant are firing on all cylinders. On targeting 5 wins on the bounce, Herd said, "To do that in the Lowland League is a tough ask. It's a really tough league, but we said to the boys that if we can get 5 or 6 wins under our belt, the table is going to look really good, so that has been our focus. Civil are a good side. They've continually punched above their weight, in my opinion. They've got a great coach in Gary Jardine there, and so it will be a really tough game. But confidence is high with the boys just now, so we'll be looking to go and make it 5-5. While pleased with overall performances, Herd reckons Rose have dropped points. While Herd was also unhappy with a 4-3 South Challenge Cup first-round defeat against Lowland League rivals Cumbernauld Colts last month, it did give his players a much-needed break. He said, "We've been good this season, but we're kind of kicking ourselves at the points we've dropped. We dropped points at the start of the season against Berwick Rangers, and we got beat 1-0 and felt we should have come away from there with at least a point. And we played Hearts 3 or 4 games into the season. We were 2-0 up at half-time and ended up getting beat 4-3. We feel that we should be sitting on more points, but it has been pleasing how the boys have reacted. We had a wee bit of a tough start, but to win 4 games on the bounce has been excellent. We had a wee week off there because we were out of the South Challenge Cup, so we've been able to get a few legs rested, and Civil is a great game to look forward to. We were disappointed not to be involved in the South Challenge Cup because it's a big trophy, but Cumbernauld beat us in the last round. It was a good time for a break though, because there were guys starting to carry wee niggles and things like that. We were playing 2 games a week at the start of the season for 5 or 6 weeks, and it can take its toll. It was a well-earned rest, but we are looking forward to getting back to action on Saturday."
And now back to some general news. Union vows to fight for workers by Debbie Hall. A national workers' union says it's fighting for its members affected by redundancy at Livingston's Mitsubishi plant. The company announced earlier this month that it has entered into consultation for 430 members of staff who are at risk of losing their jobs. Representatives from the Bakers' Food and Allied Workers Union, BFAWU, said it's now fighting for its members. The union said that, contrary to reports, some workers at the threatened Mitsubishi plant in Livingston have a union on their side. The BFAWU have members in the plant, and they are demanding they are represented by the union during crunch talks about their jobs. Mark McHugh, Scottish organiser for the BFAWU, said, "We're extremely concerned about the current situation at Mitsubishi. It's a very worrying time for the workforce there. One thing is for sure, as far as our union is concerned, we will be fighting for our members to work towards saving their jobs. It's an outrage that Mitsubishi has frowned upon trade unions during its time in Livingston, but it's times like these that clearly demonstrate to workers the true value and the collective strength that trade unions provide them. We will be demanding that we can represent our members during this time so that we can help our members achieve the best possible outcome for them. A Mitsubishi spokesperson previously said, "This decision was not entered into lightly. Our priority during the consultation period is to handle the process with the utmost respect and care for everyone involved."
Puppy power. Little pups left for dead in a plastic box celebrate first birthday by Debbie Hall. Days-old puppies left for dead after being dumped in a plastic box in Bathgate a year ago have been reunited for the first birthday. A passerby found them and took them to a local vet before they were released into the care of the Scottish SPCA Glasgow Animal Rescue and Rehoming Centre. It was touch and go for the 7 sausage Labrador cross pups who needed round-the-clock feeding, which included milk every 2 hours throughout the night. But thanks to the care and commitment of the Scottish SPCA staff, not only were they nursed back to health, they are now thriving. Such is the remarkable story of their survival. Our staff wanted to reunite siblings Whirlpool, Milo, Mavis, Orla, Bluer, Matty and Sully to celebrate their first birthday, says the Scottish SPCA. Leslie Morgan, one of the animal care assistants looking after the puppies, said, "It's fantastic to see all the puppies playing with each other today. Celebrating their first birthday is something we at the centre couldn't have possibly dreamed of when they first came to us. The puppies have all since been rehomed, with Leslie and another staff member adopting a dog each." Leslie added, "I named my puppy Whirlwind as he rules my house and is a force of nature." And this is accompanied by 2 or 3 pictures, and one of the main pictures is all the puppies jumping up and down with their owners, and the bottom picture is 3 to 4 puppies dancing about at the cake made of dog biscuits to celebrate their first birthday.
And that heartwarming story brings us to the end of our broadcast for this week. We hope that you found it enjoyable and informative. Please put your memory stick back into the blue wallet, change the address label and pop it into the postbox. Remember that our wallets should only be posted in a postbox and not taken to a post office. Until next time, take care, stay safe and very best wishes from Team 4.